Imagine walking into a car dealership. You've been saving up for 3 years, skipping vacations, eating out less, and watching every dollar. Now, you're standing in front of a sleek, shiny car. You reach into your pocket, pull out a checkbook, and write a check for the full amount, $30,000. You hand it over to the salesperson, look them dead in the eye, and think to yourself, I am a financial genius. I don't owe anyone a single dime. You drive off the lot feeling an incredible rush of pride. No monthly payments, no interest fees, no debt hanging over your head. You've done what every traditional piece of money advice has always told you to do. You avoided debt like the plague and paid in cash. But what if I told you that the moment you handed over that check, you didn't actually save money? In fact, you might have just made one of the most expensive financial mistakes of your life. It sounds completely backwards, doesn't it? We've been conditioned to believe that debt is the ultimate financial villain. We are told that paying cash is the ultimate sign of financial maturity. But the wealthiest people on the planet look at this scenario in a completely different way. Where you see a proud, debt-free car owner, a wealth builder sees a massive missed opportunity. They see $30,000 that just went down the drain, never to be seen again. Today, we're going to unpack exactly why paying cash for your next car might actually be holding you back from building real wealth. We're going to look under the hood of money psychology, explore the hidden cost of being debt-free, and reveal how you can use the exact same strategy as the wealthy to make your money work twice as hard for you. To understand why paying cash can be a trap, we first have to understand why it feels so good in the first place. Human beings are wired to seek safety and avoid pain. And psychologically, debt feels like a heavy weight on our shoulders. It feels like a vulnerability. Think about how you feel when you owe someone money. Even if it's just $10 to a friend for lunch, there's a tiny nagging voice in the back of your mind reminding you of that obligation. Now, magnify that by thousands of dollars for a car loan. The thought of a monthly payment for the next 4, 5, or 6 years feels like a pair of handcuffs. It means you are locked into a commitment. If you lose your job, if emergency strikes, that monthly payment is still going to be there waiting for you. So, when we save up enough cash to buy a car outright, we aren't just buying a vehicle, we're buying peace of mind. We're buying the feeling of absolute control. This is what psychologists call loss aversion. As humans, we feel the pain of losing something much more intensely than we feel the joy of gaining something of equal value. We are so terrified of the potential pain of debt and interest payments that we will do almost anything to avoid them. Because of this fear, we make a fundamental assumption. If interest is money you pay to borrow wealth, then avoiding interest by paying cash must mean you are keeping your wealth. It makes perfect logical sense on the surface. If a car costs $30,000 and a loan costs you an extra $4,000 in interest, then paying cash saves you $4,000, right? Well, not exactly. This is where the psychological trap snaps shut. When we focus entirely on the money we are avoiding spending, we become completely blind to the money we are preventing ourselves from making. To see how this works in the real world, let's look at the tale of two different buyers. Meet Alex and Sarah. Both of them have saved up $30,000 in cash, and both of them want to buy the exact same $30,000 car. Alex is a firm believer in the cash is king philosophy. He walks into the dealership, writes the check, and drives away. His monthly car payment is zero. He feels incredibly secure. But let's look at what actually happened to Alex's financial picture. His net worth didn't change the moment he bought the car, but his liquidity completely vanished. The $30,000 of cold, hard cash he had in the bank is now gone. In its place, he has a driveway asset that is actively losing value every single day. Now, let's look at Sarah. Sarah understands a concept that the wealthy use every day, a concept called opportunity cost. Sarah goes to the dealership, but instead of pulling out a giant check, she walks into the finance office. She puts down a small down payment, let's say $3,000, and takes out a loan for the remaining $27,000 at a reasonable interest rate, let's say 4%. Her friends think she's crazy. They say, "Sarah, you had the cash. Why are you volunteering to pay interest to a bank? You're just throwing money away." But Sarah has a plan. She takes the remaining $27,000 that she didn't spend on the car, and she doesn't let it sit idly under her mattress. Instead, she puts that money to work. She puts it into a diversified index fund in the stock market, which historically has yielded an average annual return of around 8 to 10% over the long term. Let's do some simple math to see how this plays out over the next 5 years. Alex has no car payments, which is great, but his $30,000 car is depreciating. 5 years later, that car might only be worth $15,000. Alex has $0 left in the bank from that original pool of money. Meanwhile, Sarah has been making monthly payments on her car loan. Over 5 years, she pays back the $27,000 plus the 4% interest. Yes, she paid interest to the bank, but what happened to her $27,000 that she invested? While Sarah was paying 4% to the bank, her investment was earning 8% in the market. That means she was making a net profit of 4% on her money every single year. Thanks to the power of compound interest, after 5 years, Sarah's $27,000 investment has grown to nearly $40,000. Let's look at the final scoreboard after 5 years. Both Alex and Sarah own the exact same car, which is now worth $15,000. But Alex has $0 left in the bank from that original pool of money. Meanwhile, Sarah has a booming investment account worth $40,000. Even after subtracting the total interest she paid to the bank, Sarah is thousands of dollars richer than Alex. By refusing to take out a loan, Alex didn't save money. He actually paid a massive invisible tax, the opportunity cost of what his money could have been doing while he was busy driving it around town. This brings us to a deep psychological insight about how we view money. Most people treat money as a tool for consumption. You earn it, you store it, and when you want something, you trade your money for that item. Under this view, money is static. It's just a voucher you exchange for goods. But wealthy people view money as an employee. To a wealth builder, every single dollar is a tiny worker that has the potential to go out into the world, work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and bring back more dollar employees.
When you look at money this way, your perspective on debt completely shifts. You realize that there are actually 2 very different types of debt: bad debt and good debt. Bad debt is when you borrow money to buy things that go down in value and don't make you any money. This is using a credit card to buy clothes you can't afford, or taking out a high-interest loan for a lavish vacation. Bad debt drains your wealth and transfers it to someone else. Good debt, however, is when you use borrowed money as a lever to increase your wealth. It's when the cost of borrowing the money is significantly lower than the return you can make by investing that same money somewhere else. When Sarah took out a car loan at 4% so she could keep her money invested at 8%, she wasn't being reckless. She was hiring the bank's money at a low wage so she could keep her own money working at a high wage. She used debt as a financial lever. There is another massive hidden risk to paying cash that most people completely overlook, and it has to do with life's unpredictability. When Alex gave all his cash to the dealership, he became what financial advisors call asset-rich but cash-poor. Sure, he has a $30,000 asset sitting in his driveway, but what happens if 6 months later Alex encounters a real emergency? What if he loses his job or faces a major medical bill? He can't cut off the front bumper of his car and use it to pay his rent. He can't hand a tire to a doctor to cover a medical procedure. To get his money back out of that car, he would either have to sell it in a hurry, likely taking a massive loss, or try to take out a loan against a depreciating asset when he's already in a financial tight spot, which is incredibly difficult to do. Sarah, on the other hand, kept her cash liquid. If an emergency strikes her, she has tens of thousands of dollars accessible in her investment accounts or a high-yield savings account. She has options. She has financial breathing room. Ironically, by trying to avoid risk by paying cash, Alex actually made himself far more vulnerable to the unexpected shocks of life than Sarah did. So what is the practical takeaway here? Does this mean you should run out tomorrow, buy the most expensive car you can find, and finance 100% of it with a high-interest loan? Absolutely not. The goal of this strategy isn't to buy more car than you can afford. The goal is to maximize the efficiency of the money you already have. To make this strategy work for you in the real world, you have to follow 3 golden rules. First, the interest rate matters immensely. Using debt as a lever only works if the cost of borrowing is lower than the conservative return of your investments. If a dealership offers you a car loan at 7%, 8%, or 10%, the math completely flips. At those rates, it becomes very difficult to reliably beat that return in the market after taxes. In that scenario, paying cash or putting down a much larger down payment becomes the smarter financial move. Debt is only a tool when it is cheap. When it is expensive, it becomes a trap once again. Second, you must actually invest the difference. This is where the psychology of most people fails. Someone will go to a dealership, decide to finance a car instead of paying cash, and think, great, now I have $25,000 left over. But instead of investing that money into an index fund or a wealth-building asset, they use it to buy a better TV, go on a vacation, or let it slowly evaporate through lifestyle creep. If you finance a car but spend the cash you saved on everyday consumption, you haven't built wealth. You've just taken on bad debt. The entire strategy hinges on your discipline to take that cash and immediately put it into an environment where it can grow. Third, you must look at your personal risk tolerance. Finance isn't just math, it's emotion. If having any form of debt keeps you awake at night, if it causes you immense stress, regardless of what the math says, then paying cash might still be the right choice for your mental health. But you must make that choice with open eyes, recognizing that you are paying a financial premium for that peace of mind. At the end of the day, building wealth is less about how much money you make and more about how efficiently you use the money you have. The traditional mindset tells us that wealth is about owning things outright, free and clear as quickly as possible. It's a mindset built on fear and a desire for immediate safety. But the wealth-building mindset is built on opportunity, leverage, and math. The next time you are preparing to make a major purchase like a car, don't just ask yourself, do I have enough cash to buy this? Instead, ask the deeper, more powerful question. What is the most efficient way to fund this purchase while keeping my own money working hard for my future? When you start treating your dollars like employees rather than just pieces of paper to be spent, you stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like an investor. And that is the exact moment your journey to true financial freedom begins.